Hi everybody, it's the GaminYuuki once again. Welcome to a little introduction of the first tier of the Patreon. I called it the Cool Yuuki Tier, and I would like to say thank you to everybody who has been checking out the channel. You guys are awesome. Make sure you guys support the channel by using Patreon. Link will be in the description below, or PayPal, or Cash App. Allow me to introduce you to the first tier, which is going to be the Cool Yuuki Tier. Let's have a look. So this is the Cool Yuuki Tier little demo beta screen you're going to see in today's highlight video of VRChat from yesterday. I would like to show you what you're going to get. The first benefit you're going to get is the name in VRChat highlight package, or what this section is called, and that is a beta background. Ignore the background for now. I'm just using this as a test here. So what do you mean by this? So if you're not aware, from the last VRChat highlight video in the Rita Mordio, you saw this screen. You saw this Patreon supporter screen. This section is starting soon. Your name could be on this section of the VRChat videos when it is up. So this will now become this. Will become this scene, this screen. Okay? And what I'm going to do, I'm going to still show highlights without the audio from the chat. I'm going to put it in this box where the text is. But for the first few days, just to make it interesting, just to show you what you can get, I'm going to put the text there for the moment. Second thing you're going to get is the name in the Emerald Hunters episode end credits. This is for those of you who if you're not aware, we're doing a VRChat series called Emerald Hunters, Sonic and Shadow Emerald Hunters, and what we're going to be doing for that is its own thing. And in the end credits of the episode, your name will be in this screen as well. You're going to get some cool stuff from that. The third thing is I'm going to start allowing the use of the supporter section of regular videos. So let's say for example, this is not a regular video, this is VRChat. But let's say for example I do a tutorial. I'm going to do a tutorial again soon. Let's say I do a tutorial about waifu bot or waifu game. So what's going to happen is I'm going to skip to the end. So normally I would end the video here, but because of Patreon, I'm going to extend it a bit and add a screen for you to showcase who are the Patreons for each particular tier. There will be 3 tiers at the end, but to start, we're going to start with 1 tier, and this is where that screen is going to fit in. I'm going to design it in a way that makes it fun, makes it memorable. Okay, so that's going to happen. And these are for what I call normal tutorial videos. So that's going to happen as well. The fourth thing you're going to get is the community game night jump in front of game line perk. And most of you guys know about this perk. So for those of you who are not aware, we are going to start our community nights on Fridays again, starting this week. We are going to play either Apex, Warzone, or whatever. And if you are a community member, if you are a Patreon member or supporter, I should say, you get an automatic queue. You get an automatic in play. So if you want to play, you don't need to queue up if you are a Patreon member. You have to queue up if you're not. But if you have space, then you can play. Now, to make it more inclusive rather than exclusive, if you are not a Patreon member, but you have shown that you support the stream by commenting and all that good stuff, and you still want to play, then I'm going to let you play. This is to make it more inclusive rather than exclusive. Okay? So that's how that's going to go for that particular perk. I want to make it as inclusive as possible without being too much exclusive as possible, okay? So we're going to make the balance. Next thing we have is called bonus story time, which is an additional story on me each week. So what do I mean by this? So we started this yesterday, last night, and we have a new segment called Yuuki Story Time and Stream. And what this is, it allows me to be more creative and tell you about myself outside of content creation and streaming. For example, we have this box. For example, everybody, we have this box that I would like to show everybody. We have this box. This box is actually from a Japanese cookie that we recently bought. So what's going to happen is I'm going to raffle the box, and I'm going to pick out a random story. There's plenty of them in there, and there's actually 3 ways to get a story. So let me show you guys. This is the Patreon way. So exclusively, for example, let's say the story of the day is about, let's say here, my first Los Angeles Kings game. So you know me, I live in Los Angeles and I love my Kings, my Lakers, my Galaxy, all that good stuff. And I'm going to tell you about my story about going to Staples Center and watching the LA Kings game. Okay? Or we might have another story about, let's say my dream vacation. In this case, I'm going to talk about my dream vacation I want to go to in Europe, Barcelona, all that good stuff. Or maybe or maybe when did I really start streaming? Because you may have noticed that I started streaming 2 years ago. I will tell you that's cap, because there's actually a different story about this one. When I really started was not 2 years ago, it was 4 years ago, and I'll explain that in this particular story. So that's one way to get a story. The other 2 ways are actually stream related. You get one story for free during the stream, but it's not VRChat, by the way. And you get another one if you use !! redeem space Yuuki story. And it's 1,000 Yuuki coin. So that is another way you can get a story. Okay. Here's another thing you're going to get as part of Patreon. You're going to get Patreon only posts. And I'm going to show you how to use Patreon in a moment so that you guys can start using it. So Patreon only posts is exactly what it sounds like. Instead of posting it on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, or my other social media, you're only going to get it if you have Patreon and you're on my site on Patreon. That's how that works. So it could be an update, it could be behind the scenes stuff, early access, all that cool stuff that you would think you get in there, early access, all that good stuff. That's a Patreon only post. Now, if you're in my Discord on Shadow Gaming, you actually have an early access post already. So they're the exception because I already made that a long time ago. But this one is new, so you guys get early access as well. Okay. Now this one is cool. One per week, I'm gonna do one of these videos where I shout out the Patreons on the tiers. So for example, shout out to Jimmy Dukes and Fortune One for supporting the channel. So that's what I would do. Okay. Now, the next one is going to be interesting. I'm going to give you a Cool Yuuki role, or a Super Yuuki role, or an Ultra Yuuki role on an upcoming Discord server. I'm still thinking of how I want to do this because I don't want to make it too much. But let me think about it first if I'm going to give that one as a benefit. But there is another benefit in beta that I want to try out, and that is called Story Time, Patreon Story Time. What I mean is that there's going to be a story told about a Patreon member Like, for example, I'm going to tell a story about Jimmy Dukes, or story about Unfortunate One, story about Angela, Dion, or whoever is a Patreon. And one lucky Patreon member, supporter, gets a story about them per week. This is different from the shout out though. So keep that in mind. So that is the current look at the $1 tier of my Patreon, of our Patreon, as I say. And I'm going to show you now how to use Patreon to get on the board, and allow me to show you guys that now. So what we have here is my Patreon, our Patreon page, and that is GaminYuuki. I will be putting the link in the description below so you guys can follow along. Here's how this works. Please keep in mind, if you do want to start pledging, you are required to have a credit card. That is not my rule. That is their rule, not mine. So do keep that in mind. So here's how this works. What you do is go to my page here, link in the description below, and you're going to select a tier. Now keep in mind, there are two ways you can support. If you press the join button, you're going to see this screen pop up. So complete your monthly payment to GaminYuuki. Choose what you pay. The minimum price for this tier is $1. Okay, what does this do? So this would do is you tip the $1, and your payment details will be a credit card. Okay. Now here's how this looks like. You can change your currency just in case, like you are from Hong Kong, Europe, New Zealand, Singapore, all that. You click that button there. And then what you can also do is you can show the description based on what I have in Patreon. If you press edit, you can go back here. Or another thing you can do is, let's say you're not interested in the rewards part, but you still want to make a pledge. You can do what they call a custom pledge here. And what this is going to do is, you're not going to be able to put in a tier, but you can choose whatever you want in the choose what you pay. Now keep in mind, custom pledges, I do want to remind you that in a custom pledge, I will still give you a shout out. It won't matter. It does not matter. It does not matter. If you pick a tier or not, you are still getting a shout out, even if you are not in a tier. If you do not select a tier, I'm going to give you a shout out anyway for custom pledges, because you guys deserve shout outs as well. So you just confirm and you'll be okay to go. And you'll be first charged at this point at June 1st. So keep that in mind. It is monthly in this case. Okay? So that's how you use Patreon in a nutshell. If you guys want to learn how to use it more, or if you're just supporting the channel, I'll have an in-depth tutorial about how to use Patreon as a creator later on. But as far as this video is concerned, that is it for this one, y'all. Make sure you guys check out Jimmy Dukes Gaming and The Unfortunate One on Facebook and YouTube. Both of them have a YouTube now. And shout out to Jimmy Dukes being the first one, and The Unfortunate One being the second one, and anybody else who wants to join in on the fun. That's all for now. We will see you guys in our next video coming soon. Thanks, y'all.